Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Welcome back to our Syracuse Canal Corporation Regional Office here in beautiful Mattydale. And this is meeting number 110 of the New York State Canal Recreationway Commission. It's a brisk fall day here in upstate New York, and it's always wonderful to be in the midsection of our canal system. Brisk is a great word. In fact, brisk was the word yesterday, the Wordle word. If you play Wordle, it was brisk. I digress. We are fortunate to be back together today in person, and in fact, we have a quorum in person here with us at the Canal Corporation office, and we also have several folks that have joined with us. Probably more will join in on screen. As is the norm, we will acknowledge any special guests, and then we will proceed with our introductions in just a moment. We also want to welcome commission members, all of our commissioners here. Commissioner Iacetta was supposed to be with us. Please mute your microphones, please. Those on screen, please mute your microphones, and those here in the room, please mute your cell phones if you haven't had the opportunity to do so yet. So we want to welcome commissioners, agency representatives, and regional planning executives. Again, for those of who might not be familiar with the work of the CRC, or perhaps tuning in online for the first time, it is useful always to provide a explanation of who we are and why we are here. The Canal Recreationway Commission, CRC, was created by the New York State Legislature in 1992 under specific section of canal law to, one, develop and oversee the canal the Recreationway plan, and number two, to advise the Canal Corporation and NYPA on canal related issues. The commission is comprised of 24 members. There are 14 voting members, including 10 involved in canal use, development, preservation, enhancement, and local governments from counties adjacent to or intersected by the canal system. More information about the CRC can be found online at www.canals.ny.gov. But we find ourselves at the end of another successful season. In fact, we have just wrapped up our 198th consecutive season of navigation on the New York State canals. Hard to believe, but heading toward that number of 200, and that great day when we begin our 201st. So there's just about a week or so of remaining time for a handful of commercial navigation permits and our tour boats to finish up with some spectacular fall cruises, probably winding down on Sunday, October 30th. Today's agenda really is going to be focusing on what we've done over the past 6 months and winter work that is ahead of us. There are in fact no real property items on the agenda, so we have lots of time to be able to talk about what's going on, and it's been a great season. David Ambrose are going to give us an update on our great season where navigation was up on all of our four canals, I think up by 14% overall. We're going to hear from Darby about on the canals. We're going to hear from Sasha and Shelby on the Empire State Trail. And we're going to hear from Commissioner Wysokowski, who just concluded a marvelous New York State Canal Conference in Rochester. And once again, we are very pleased to welcome back our NYPA trustee and very good friend, Dee Gonzalez, who is with us today and loves the canal. I can say that, and Dee is going to give us a report on a wonderful ceremony that we had at the end of the Canal Conference, naming one of our newest tubs. So we might in fact today consider today's CRC meeting as a condensed version of the 22 Canal Conference. If you make it to Rochester, you're really going to hear most of what we heard during our day. We will get underway with our presentations, dialogue, and discussion and introductions very soon. But first, I would like to turn it over to Rebecca Hughes, Senior Director of Public Engagement, for a very special introduction. Rebecca.
Thank you, Director. I am absolutely thrilled to introduce the newest member of our public engagement team. Joelle Murney-Karsten joined us just last week. She's serving as our manager for public and government affairs in the Central New York and Finger Lakes region. She's a Canal Corp employee, full-time, permanent. She's got a really amazing career history in economic development and public engagement. She's an absolute professional, and she's already hit the ground running. So we're thrilled to have her. She previously served as the board chair for the Seneca Falls Development Corporation. She is currently serving in her 4th term and her 11th year on the Seneca Falls Board of Education, and she also sits on the Seneca Falls Historic Society Board. Joelle returned home to the Finger Lakes in 2009 after living in Boston for nearly 17 years, where she worked in support of the transformative project, the Central Artery / Tunnel project known as the Big Dig. Of course, we all know the original Big Dig was the Erie Canal. That was for you, Brian.
That was great. That was great. Great job.
So really, it's coming full circle.
Yeah.
Adding to her already very impressive resume, I'll add 2 major sources of street cred that Joelle brings with her. She was raised on the canal. She grew up in Waterloo, where her family has lived for generations. And she's also a voter. So as she engages in public engagement, she's not only deeply rooted in this area, but she's also a person who loves water recreation and brings that knowledge with her. She's already hit the ground running. She's been a very welcome addition, rounding out our team, joining Nick, Jackie, Shane, Liz, and Sully that comprise the rest of the public engagement team. I would encourage you to please reach out to Joelle. She's onboarding, she's ingesting a lot of information, and it's important that that includes your perspectives. So just as you were generous to me in helping me to onboard a year and a half ago, please extend that to Joelle as well. And I think she's going to be a wonderful advocate, not just for the canal system, but for you as stakeholders as well. So please take a moment to reach out to her at a future date. Thank you.
Would you like to speak?
No, thank you. Already.
We'll change that, don't worry. We are so happy to have you with us, and you've been here for about 2 weeks or maybe 1 week. We already put you out of the field last night at the National Women's Hall of Fame dedication. Is that correct?
That's right. The gold shovel.
There will be many more assignments to follow. You did that so well. Thank you so much. Okay, Rebecca, thank you so much. We look forward to working with Joelle, and we encourage everybody on screen here to reach out to Joelle. As we all know, the best way to get to know the canal is to be on the canal. So you need to get out of the office, get out of the cube, and out on the canal. So I'm sure our commissioners and all of our stakeholders and our staff will provide opportunities for you to do so. So let's continue with our introductions. My name is Brian Stratton. I am the director of the Canal Corporation and serve as the acting chair of the CRC. I'm going to go to my left to Rebecca and then on to you. So go ahead. We'll go around the room, and then we'll go to the back of the room, and then we will go to on screen. So Rebecca.
Thank you, Brian. Rebecca Hughes, Public Engagement with the Canal Corporation.
P. Gonzalez, trustee, NIPA and Canals.
Howard Sikowski, visitor on the CRC.
Doug Cole, professional engineer from the Schenectady County area.
Ken Roller from Orleans County, Commissioner.
Francis Gordy, Commissioner from Whitehall. We're Champlain Canal ends at C12 and Champlain.
Dan Wiles with the Canal Society of New York State, longtime CSC. Mike Temesco, IT support, here at Power 30 and Canal Corporation.
Natalie Stetson, I am a commissioner and director of the Erie County Museum in downtown Syracuse.
I am Ross Levi. I'm the executive director of the New York State Division of Tourism and a vice president at Empire State Wine, where I represent you today.
And Joelle, it's already introduced.
Good afternoon, Ambrose Barbuto, Director of Waterways Maintenance for the Canal Corporation.
Good afternoon, I'm Dave Miller, Regional Manager of the Canal Corporation.
Tom, would you like to introduce yourself?
Tom Ryan, I'm formerly associated with this august organization, and happy to be here again.
Thank you, Tom. Tom is our former chief of staff when the New York State Canal Corporation was under the Thruway Authority, has been on the canal many, many years, and happy to say was the one who told me about the wonderful lodging establishment of the Dollinger's Motor Lodge in Albion. So I don't think it's still open. Great spot. Thank you for being with us. Is it? Wonderful. Rob, we're going to start with your wife in the back. Would you introduce her? Cheryl, would you introduce yourself?
President's wife, came along for the ride today to learn a little bit more about the canal.
We're glad to have you with us here.
I'm Sasha Delpral. I am the trail manager for the New York State Canal Corporation and also a member of the Reimagining Canals team.
Kim Orpello, Special Assistant to the Director.
Shelby Moore, Reimagining Canals Field Maintenance Manager.
And Darby Racing, Program Manager for London Canals, part of the Reimagining Canals.
Hope everybody on the screen can hear us. As we introduce ourselves, we don't have individual microphones. We have a group microphone. So if you're having trouble hearing, just wave, chime in, and we'll do our best to amplify. Has Steve Iacchetta joined our meeting? We were looking for Commissioner Iacchetta, but I know he had a doctor's appointment, so that may be conflicted. Mike, if you hit that arrow, are there more people on the screen?
It's on his phone.
He's on his phone. Okay, Commissioner Iacchetta, do you want to unmute and say hello? Something more important. Okay, go back, if you would, Mike, go back to the previous screen. So let's give our folks a chance to say hello. Peter Casper is our counsel. Peter, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Hello, everybody. I'm with the Council's Office at Nightbank Canals. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Peter Abley is with us from Fairport and our On the Canals program. Peter, say hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. Peter Abley from Erie Canal Boat Company in Fairport.
Thank you, Peter. We had a great time with Peter earlier this summer, introducing our On the Canals program in Brockport. And so Brockport and Fairport are two great locations. You're going to be hearing more about On the Canals just in a moment. Kim Borsheim is with us from SK Yards. Kim. Captain Kim.
I'm sorry. Yes, I'm with SK Yards, marina servicing boating in Central New York, but I'm also here on behalf of our Central New York Boating Industry Association.
Thank you, Kim. It's great to have you.
Thank you.
It was great to be with you earlier in the summer for that roundtable conversation on your marvelous lawn there at SK.
Well, I appreciate that. I was very happy that meeting was able to take place, and I do hope that there was some good takeaway from that with regard to the often overlooked power boating user on the canal system, at least in the past. So
make sure we mention that many times.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim, for joining us. David Granoff of Canal, New York. David, say hello.
Thank you, Brian. Good afternoon, everyone. As Brian mentioned, I'm chair of Canal New York, as well as CEO of DiscoverUpstateNY.com Tourism. Thank you.
Thank you, David. We look forward to hearing more about your annual meeting, if that's going to be coming down the pike. And we'll look forward to that and make sure we'll get that out to all of the commissioners if that takes place.
We'll let you know shortly.
Molly Riley from State Parks is with us. Mayor Riley, say hello, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Happy to join on behalf of Commissioner Kulisade and for Fred Bond, who is away this week. Thank you.
Where's the Wallkill Valley Rail Trail, Molly?
Wallkill Valley. Down in the Hudson. Down in the Hudson.
Buried in Grant's tomb. I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Very good. Thank you. Thank you very much, Commissioner. Okay, next, Laura DeBetta from State Parks, or excuse me, DEC. I made that mistake last. Laura, say hello.
It's a common thing. Hi, everyone. Laura DeBetta, Director of Outdoor Recreation, representing Commissioner Sagos for the Department of Environmental Conservation. Hi, everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Laura. It's good to have you with us. Dr. John Garver is here. What a surprise. Hello, Doctor.
Hello, everybody. I'm John Garver. I'm at Union College.
Much more than that, was a member of our Reimagine the Canals Task Force and has been a partner in our continuing efforts on resiliency along the canal. So, John, it's great to have you with us.
Yeah, we're looking forward to reintroducing the Mohawk Watershed Symposium on the 17th of March in 2023 with everybody's health, hopefully, in mind.
Good plug there. We'll mark that on our calendars. Another doctor's with us, but he just disappeared off screen. Dr. Byer, Dr. Paul Byer from Department of State. Hello, Paul.
Hello, sir. Hello, everybody. Good to be back here.
All right. Angelin is with us. Angelin, everybody's in their place and has their assignments. Angelin is the
Vice President of Planning.
Vice President of Planning for Reimagine the Canals. Hello, Angelin.
Hi, everyone. Good to see you again, especially after the conference 2 weeks ago. Great to be here.
Angela wanted to be here in person, but she had to stay back. So I think I've introduced everyone. Is there anybody else who I haven't introduced that's on screen that would like to say hello?
Hi, this is Director Stratton. This is Andy Kitzman with Erie Canalway National Heritage Quarter, representing Bob Radliff.
Thank you very much, Andy. It's wonderful to have you with us. My apologies. I did see you. Bob is continuing to recover from open heart surgery, but he's sending us jokes and he's sending us stories. So we know that he is doing very, very well, and we look forward to seeing Bob back in person very, very soon, hopefully on screen for our Erie Canalway Heritage Quarter Commission meeting next week.
He will be on in spirit and in person. So yes.
Good, Lord. Okay, we have a quorum, and we're going to officially call the meeting to order, meeting number 110. And of course, as always, our first action item is to approve the minutes from meeting number 109, which was held in person and virtually on July 18th at the NIPA Albany Boardroom. I'm assuming everyone has received the minutes, has had an opportunity to review them, and to make any comments on them. Anyone who has not received the minutes who has not received that? Do we have a motion to accept the minutes? Thank you. Moved by Commissioner Torti. I'll seconded by Commissioner Wiles. Before we vote on that, any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say no. The minutes are approved. Congratulations. That's our first and only voting item. One of the highlights of our canal season came toward the end of our canal season, October 2nd through October 4th, and that was the stunning 2022 New York State Canal Conference held in Rochester, which blew the doors off the gates and off of the conference facilities too, Cal. We had a great opportunity to join with Mayor Evans in August and push attendance, and I think that really, really helped. So Cal, welcome, and Commissioner Commissioner Wysikowski, who also served as chair for the 22 Canal Conference, 2022 Canal Conference. She doesn't know it yet, but she's still going to serve as chair of the 2024 Canal Conference. We can talk about more of that later. Canal, Cal, welcome, and please give us your presentation. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Director Stratton, and thank you everyone for your attention as we recap the 2022 New York State Canal Conference. It was a little tight. It was a little tight in the Century Club. An older building, not without its challenges. It was a beautiful facility, but we packed close to 200 people in a space that we really estimated about 130 to 150. So I appreciate everyone's patience as we worked through some of the logistics. I think overall, we overcame those impediments and had a great conference. I do have some pictures that I'm going to show you just to highlight some of the things that happened at the conference. Some of the pictures are mine and others are from Ann Dykstra, and I think it's Jim Cameron, who are photographers there from the Canal Corporation. I just want to give them credit for some of the stunning photographs that you're going to see. Those photographs are in a photo gallery on Flickr, and I think it's Flickr X now. And if you get a chance, there are just dozens and dozens of really, really nice photos that really capture the essence of the conference in a visual way. I want to thank Kim Orpello for her technical assistance in putting together this presentation. I ran into a snafu and she was there to help me. So I really appreciate that, Kim. I also want to thank Bob Radliff and the folks at the Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor for their sponsorship and their support. Judy McKinney-Cherry, Andy Kitzman, Jean McKay for supporting this conference, especially as Bob had to step away from his responsibilities. The staff has really stepped in and helped make this conference go. And I also want to thank the City of Rochester and Brian Stratton and the staff of the Canal Corporation, NICO and Reimagine. You provided a lot of content for the conference. A lot of substantial topics were covered, topics of interest, and we couldn't have put it together without your support. Many of you were at the conference, so we're going to move through this pretty quickly. I won't take too much time, but there are some highlights here. So next slide. The conference typically has 3 parts to it. One is a Sunday community celebration. This year it was Party at the Aqueduct. We co-sponsored this with the City of Rochester and some other groups, Rock the Riverway. The second part of the conference typically is plenary and breakout sessions, more of a typical conference sort of event where you sit and you hear speakers present and moderators, things like that. The third piece to our conferences is always getting out and exploring, and we call those mobile workshops. So those 3 components were included in this year's conference. And again, the first one was Sunday afternoon, 1 o'clock to 4 on Broad Street. We closed Broad Street and called it the Party at the Aqueduct. Next slide. It's hard to see that this is some of the events that took place on Sunday afternoon. There was a visioning session under a tent that was facilitated by the City of Rochester to reimagine the aqueduct. There were self-guided audio tours, food trucks, wine tasting, beer tasting, chalk artistry on the streets, which was really kind of cool. Guided walking tours, guided bike tours. We had live music. We had boat rides from Sam Patch, from Cornhill Navigation. And kayaks were available. They were a little bit late, but you could get on a kayak and paddle the Genesee River. So that's just a sample of some of the things that were happening on the aqueduct. Next slide. So here's the thing that captures my imagination about the aqueduct. This is under the Broad Street Bridge, under Broad Street itself. And it's really a gallery with internationally recognized graffiti art. People come from all over the world to look at what's down there and to draw and to paint. And it's really something. But that's the aqueduct, original aqueduct. was some fun. We had a roller skating area set up, and there's a jumbo shrimp, a rockabilly band that was performing as well. Next slide, please. So Monday morning, we kicked off the conference. I think we skipped a slide, but we'll back up here. This is Mayor Evans on the slide, and he talked, there's the one. That's Monday, kicking off the conference. It's enormous, beautiful stairwell. There was a lower level and then an upper level where we kicked it up. Monday, we started with a presentation by Canal, and he talked about Rock the Riverway. And then next is Mayor Evans. Slide, yeah. And he made some inspiring remarks about the city embracing the waterway. And it was really kind of encouraging to hear that the city's focus is on embracing the waterway and really moving towards it. You can see to his left is Secretary of State Robert Rodriguez. Next slide. There again is Robert Rodriguez. He delivered the keynote on Tuesday's lunch. And to the right, someone that we all know. He's here today is Ambrose. Again, as part of his panel discussion. Next slide. Again, Canal Corp staff in a plenary session. That's our well-known Rebecca Hughes. And there's Bill Schweitzer on the right. That's Jim Candelaria. Is that correct?
James Candeloro.
Candeloro, thank you. And cut out of that picture is Brian. And Nick.
Somebody had to sacrifice.
Someone had to sacrifice. But again, that was a great plenary session on aquatic invasive species and fall fishing program. Again, very well received. Next slide. So Monday evening, we gathered on the 9th floor of the Strathallan Hotel. There's Director Stratton making some remarks and me making some remarks as well. There was a reception, music, dinner, an amazing view of Rochester. Next slide. Oh, there's the amazing view of Rochester. And up on the left is is Justin Driscoll and Natalie Stetson and Brian Stratton. It was great to see them there. And in the lower corner, we have Peggy Gonzalez and her husband, Michael. Not too much fun, huh?
No, we don't have any fun at all.
Against that skyline, I love that picture so much. I really do. Okay, next slide. So Tuesday morning, we continued with plenary and breakout sessions, and sessions included expanding the Erie Canal narrative, which was a new topic for us, and I think one that's important for us to hear. We also had an earth and embankment session, hydropower on the Erie Canal. This was Monday, but we had a New York State Canal Corporation update with Angela Chandler and Reimagine folks. On the canal, small business success breakout session. Altogether, I think we had 16 breakout sessions. So it was pretty busy. It was pretty busy along with the 2 mobile workshops. Here we see Director Stratton doing a interview with a lot of the TV stations that showed up. And yeah, Shane Mahar was driving me crazy. He does his job so well. There were a lot of press there. And I told him, stop doing your job so well. And to the right was something that really captured again my imagination and got my attention. It was a replica statue of Harriet Tubman. The statue in there, it was just great. If you look at that cloth, those colors and the designs all symbolize something in her life. Amazing. So we were able to display the statue at the conference. I thought that was important to include. Okay, next slide. The last slide. So the conference was dedicated to the memory of Tom Grasso, who many of you know. I selected the picture of me. I was listening to what Brian was talking about at that moment and thinking about how proud Professor would be that we had the conference in Rochester and that we honored him in Jim Farr, Tom's wife Corolla, and Director Stratton on the downtown walking tour. Corolla came in and did join us for a short time. And in the center is the giveaway that we provided for the attendees, which was a goblet from Stella Artois with the famous line, "Our dear professor, just add water." And I thought that was a fitting way to end the conference. This program. So we had nearly 200 attendees in Rochester. We go to the last slide. 16 sessions, 2 mobile workshops, 15 sponsors, plenty of positive press. Once again, Shane, thank you for doing your job. And again, my thanks to the Canal Society, the Erie Canal National Heritage Charter, Brian, for your support and getting us through yet another New York State conference. So, thank you. And farewell, Rochester, and farewell 2022 conference.
I think that's probably the view after the conference was done. Everybody's eyes were sort of blurry.
Yes.
Cal, it was an amazing conference. Thank you so much for all you do, for all of your hard work. It's always a wonderful opportunity when we have the chance to get together and spend time in such a great community. Rochester is really the soul of the Erie Canal and all of those wonderful communities everywhere. So while we were there at the conference, yes, we talked about all of our programs and all of our progress, but we also began an important new initiative entitled More Voices, which is focused on bringing light to the untold stories of extraordinary African Americans and the Canal Corridor. And part of that was the naming of a special vessel, as you have seen in the photos that Cal shared with us. Trustee Gon Gonzalez and her husband Mike were also with us, not just for a day, not just for an hour, but for the entire conference. Thank you, Kate. Trustee serves as the chair of the NIPA Governance Committee, which is responsible also for asset naming. And I'm proud that being one of your first actions under that chairmanship was to approve us moving forward with the authorization to name our Lewis Canal Tug. And with that, I would like to introduce and welcome again Trustee Gonzalez.
Thank you, Brian. And Michael and I truly did enjoy the conference. As a retiree from a long career in higher ed, I missed that intellectual stimulation that comes from a learning conference. And so thank you, because that's what it was for me and for Michael. It was a learning conference. I had no idea what to expect, but I was very pleasantly pleased. In addition to, as the chair of the governance committee, I did have the pleasure to sponsor the trustees' recent authorization of naming the NIPA and Canal assets. And it is fitting for my career and for my personal interest and goals in terms of building inclusivity and helping young people understand their history so that they can then progress in their own trajectory. Being part of naming the Harriet Tubman Canal Push Tug was really special. So we stood, and let me thank the members of the conference that came to this event. It wasn't really part of what the conference, it was part of the conference, but people did come, right? Members of the commission came and other participants at the conference participated in that naming event. And it was a multi-generational event. It with representation from the Tubman family, representation from the Frederick Douglass family, and with young people, right? And it connected African tradition with the drummers and the dancing all the way to the importance of the canal today. And it kind of highlighted, right, how we need to just enhance our stories and enhance our knowledge of our assets by telling the stories that have been missed. And that was, to me, the critical part of this event and this process. So we stood there with Harriet Tubman's family, the descendants of Frederick Douglass, the Secretary of State. There were many, many elected officials. And we got to see the spirit and strength of Harriet Tubman channeled through all the speakers and all the presentations that are there. So as you may know, or now you will know, 2022 marks the bicentennial of Harriet Tubman's birth. And celebrations like this are taking place across the state and in many parts of the country in honor of her legacy. So it was completely fitting that we honor her, Harriet Tubman's bravery and her tenacity as a living and working symbol on the waters of our canal today. And with that, I want to at least kick off, share a brief video that was done by the Canal Corporation.
Francisca.
Thank you.
In the 1880s, the Erie Canal was more than just a trade route. It was a pathway for many for freedom. And Harriet Tubman is one of the most crucial figures whose incredible bravery adds to the rich history of our canalway. That is why we are pleased to continue New York State's commitment to preserving her legacy by naming the Canal Corporation's newest vessel a push tugboat in honor of her on the 200th anniversary of her birth.
We could not be prouder to join you all in honoring one of America's most important and impactful figures, and it is a tremendous thing to know that for generations to come, visitors to the canal will be given a chance to learn about and celebrate Harriet Tubman's life.
Since we are so youth-focused, our generation that's going to carry on our history, we are going to start with our lovely young ladies who are part of the change agents that are involved with us. And first of all, we have two young ladies that are from Mount Olivet Baptist Church. Our first young lady is going to do a poem, and her name is Mackenzie Mitchell.
On most days, my name is Mackenzie Mitchell, but today I woke up and my name was Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman, you should know my name. Freeing my people is what earned my fame. 13 trips in the dead of night, with only God's stars there to guide my flight. But to really understand my profound impact, listen up, my children, to hear all the facts. With my sharpshooter rifle in the Civil War, I led the Union Army as a scout and more. I led Union troops in 1863, and my brave mission set more people free. 700 slaves would be slaves no more, 'cause a strong black woman opened freedom's door. I fought for women's rights with Susan B. Fought for freedom, fought for justice, because I could see that this land I love could never really be a great noble nation till we all are free. Harriet Tubman, you should know my name and pick up my torch to carry freedom's flame.
Thank you, Mackenzie. This is what we're talking about, our children, investing in our youth. So our next performer who will do a wonderful poem is Genesis Arundel.
Harriet Tubman was born a slave, hungering for freedom. This lady brave escaped her owner and ran away. She traveled at night, never by day. Harriet Tubman found a free life, but couldn't forget other slaves' strife. The Underground Railroad has to be the secret pathway for slaves to free. Harriet became a conductor, risked her life to be an instructor of how to travel and where to go. She did this work for 10 years or so. Harriet Tubman fought for what's right, even helped the Union's armies fight. When she became a trustworthy spy, sharing the South routes of supply. Harriet Tubman, determined and brave, never forgot she was born a slave.
Because of Harriet Tubman's perseverance and commitment, and her strength and fight for equal rights, that we must continue to carry that torch and mantle for the next generation of Genesees who are bringing forward that message to us today.
I am honored to be one of her 3 times great nieces and to have her DNA in my veins. Her strength and tenacity I don't have, but I will continue to keep her legacy alive by not stopping, and I will keep going.
wonderful tribute. Thank you so much. And if you haven't had the opportunity to see that yet, we can follow up with you. We can make sure that you can access that. I'm not sure if it's on our website or not, Kim, but a great video and a great day. And Ambrose Day, thank you very much for making that possible. That's the future
Director?
Of our fleet, right? The push tug, right? That's great. Those are smaller tugs, but they do a lot of work. Question or comment on the screen? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Director Paul Byer, I just wanted to express my gratitude to all of you for involving Secretary Rodriguez in both of these events, the conference and the Harriet Tubman tribute. He has been to a number of DRIs and communities along the canal, but this was really enlightening and invigorating for him to get the full picture and see what's happening in Rochester, but all over the state. He really appreciates it, so thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Paul. We were very, very honored and very pleased to have him with us. I've had the chance to speak with the Secretary many, many times, and we always share wonderful stories about the canals, and we welcome them out on the canal anytime for all of our 20 DRI communities. So thank you for that. Okay, let's move on now to item number 6 on the agenda, and that will be the Empire State Trail. And of course, the completion last year of the 750-mile Empire State Trail, coupled with our Reimagined Canals program. And the On the Canals program is really helping to energize action and use across the Empire State Trail. And of course, the spine, the east-west spine of the Empire State Trail, of course, is the Erie Canalway Trail, which of course we all take time to cycle along. And we are very fortunate to have with us 2 wonderful people who help to manage and guide our trail project, and that would be Sasha Del Peral, and Sasha is the Empire State Trails Manager, the Trails Manager for the New York State Canal Corporation. And Shelby Moore is relatively new, and Shelby is the project manager. So Sasha and Shelby, what a great ring that has to it. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We turn the floor over to you.
They call us the Canal Trail Duo. Yeah, I don't know. We have to come up with a little slogan for ourselves. But so here to talk about the trail today. And as Brian alluded, the Empire State Trail is the umbrella for which the Erie Canal and Champlain Canal fall under. In 2017, then Governor Cuomo announced a new initiative, the Empire State Trail Initiative, to build the longest multi-use trail spanning from New York City all the way to the Canadian border, and then from Albany to Buffalo. And that was $200 million to build out that trail network. Can you go to the next one? And next. Yeah, there we go. So there were 50 projects in total to close those gaps to build 750 miles of trail. But fortunately for the New York State Canal Corporation, 87% of the Erie Canalway Trail spanning from Albany to Buffalo was already complete. So we only had 11 projects that we needed to do to span those gaps. 5 of which were actually clustered in the Mohawk Valley region. That was where the biggest gaps remained. We closed about 20 miles worth of on-road segments and brought them off-road safely and nicely along the Mohawk River. And so since the completion of the Empire State Trail just last year, we've seen trail use grow from 1.9 million visitors in 2017 to 3.3 million visitors this year. Our western regions in central New York also saw a 15% increase from 2017 to 2021. So this is a true example of the great return on investment in trail. If you build it, people will come. And if you improve it or restore it, people will also come. It's also worth pointing out that the Canalway Trail is Canal's most utilized asset by far. I mean, I'll wait to see what Ambrose says about the water traffic this year, but I think Trails has it. And in 2014, our partners Parks and Trails New York did an economic impact study of the trail. At that time, we only had 1.6 million visitors. Today, we have 3.3 million visitors. But back then, it generated $250 million in economic impact. So we have to extrapolate that if we were counting on the 3.3 million visitors that we currently see, that impact would be much greater today. And in fact, the Reimagine the Canals initiative, working with our economic development director, is working on an economic impact study currently. So we'll be excited to see what those impacts are of the trail today. So we're seeing a lot of growth. However, there's still some hurdles that we need to, next slide. There's still some hurdles that we need to overcome to truly make the Canalway a world-class tourism destination. And one of that is the capital maintenance of the trail. So the Empire State Trail did invest $65 million, adding it to the Canal Corporation's budget to build new trail. It didn't help us address old and deteriorating trail. In 2019, Hudson River Valley Greenway, who was responsible for the Empire State Trail initiative, with the help of Alta Planning, conducted a trail condition report. The report identified 76 miles of poor section of trail that existed, and roughly 50 miles of that trail is on the Erie Canal. So that leads me to what we're doing about it. Over the last 2 years, we've addressed, next slide. So capital projects, and next. Over the last 2 years, we're currently in construction or in design of 35 miles of restored trails. With the help of leftover Empire State Trail funding, the little formatting issue there. With the help of that leftover Empire State Trail funding, we're addressing 6 segments of trail, which are identified, not highlighted. And then Reimagine the Canals is also investing in 3 major sections of trail. Those are highlighted in yellow. These projects will address more than 60% of the necessary repairs on poor condition trail segments. However, you can see on the map, the purple and blue are fair condition segments, and those are continuing to age, and we're continuing to have increased use. So you can imagine that increased use, the presence of, or increased presence of severe weather events, that we're going to continue to see trail conditions move from fair to poor more quickly. So 2 of our 2 projects that Reimagine the Canals is working with Canal Operations on is the Utica to Stanwix project and the Rochester area projects. These are addressing 13 miles of trail, and both projects were proposed by Canal Operations, and Reimagine the Canals adopted those projects because we didn't have the capital budget available to do them. These are high use areas and high population areas. They're the most populous areas that the trail network that we own runs through. So we hope that they'll have a high impact. And this is a great example of Reimagine the Canals alignment with Canal Operations. Canals have a need. We understand the impact of the trail, especially in these high population areas. So Reimagine's investing in them. And next slide. Oh, sorry, that's next slide. All right. And then another alignment that we're seeing with Reimagine the Canals is the integral role the trail is playing in their vision. Most of the ongoing Reimagine the Canals capital projects feature investments in the trail or connections to the trail. Of the 10 Reimagine the Canal projects, 7 of them have a trail connection. As you can see on the map, there's also a really good regional distribution of them. And next slide. There are 3 projects that are worth noting because of their connection to the trail. There's projects like Little Falls, where we're investing $11.5 million to build a park and pedestrian bridge connecting the trail into the downtown business district. There's also Guy Park Manor, which also offers a new overwater connection, so a pedestrian bridge and a small park and amenities adjacent to the trail. And then there's the Medina High Wall. And if anyone's been to Medina and been along the high wall, you know the deteriorated state of that infrastructure. This is another alignment with Canal's operational needs, maintenance needs. Reimagine is improving with their funding the high wall, but not only that, improving the trail condition and putting in a sculpture loop with some programming associated with it. So that's a really exciting kind of re-envision project where we're not only replacing in kind, but building better. And so while the trail has a lot of capital needs, we can't only address the trail's needs with just capital investments. There is need for investment in operations and maintenance. And that's where I'll let Shelby take over. Shelby is the new trail maintenance manager, and she'll talk about the maintenance work that we've been doing and that she's now doing. So next slide. One more.
So I am new to Canals. I came on as a trail maintenance manager in July of this year, so just a few months in. My role is to assist Sasha with the trail maintenance. Obviously, with all of these added miles of trails, maintenance is becoming more of an issue. So I'm working to field the day-to-day questions, inquiries, concerns that come in about the condition of the trails, vetting out, is the canal's issue, does it belong to a municipality, and working with those agencies so that we can get those repairs made. In addition to my role, we're working on some other programs to help maintain the trail system better. The first one being seasonal employees. In 2023, we are hoping to have a program to hire 1 to 3 seasonal employees to help with the general trail maintenance program. In addition to helping out canals where they need the excess help. Also, we're working on the on-call maintenance services contract. That's a value contract system that would be, it would address site-wide maintenance issues in the different regions. We would be working with canals, but we would be providing services where they may not have the equipment, maybe their equipment isn't working, maybe they just don't have the personnel necessary to complete those tasks. So we would be using that contract to help with those services. The additional item that we were hoping to implement under that maintenance service is a future donor bench program for the canals. We are currently working on that initiative and hoping that we can use this contract to implement that service. Next slide, please. In addition to what we are working on, we are combining our support and effort with canals and utilizing some programs that are currently out there. Canals has a monthly trail inspection program that they've contracted with Bergman Associates for monthly trail inspections, and we are able to use that information to help us track the deficiencies, be able to track trends that are occurring, where we're seeing the typical issues, and better understand the trail network, whether it's the trail system itself, whether it's the amenities, it's mowing, it's gates, bollards. It gives us a better perspective on what's going on. And the last item is the test pilot voter application. Canals is working on a voter application that is developing an on the Canals app that will be used to communicate with the waterway operations, and they have graciously helped us out and let us tack onto that pilot program. And we're going to implement a section for complaints for on the trails. So if somebody's on the trail, they can report a complaint through that app, and that'll be sent directly to us.
Shelby, it's a voter app because the boats cite the problems, or what?
No, so the app was really, they're developing an app so that they can communicate with the lock operators and other items on the waterway. But in addition to doing that, we have asked them to add a section for people who are also on the trail network.
Right.
So that if you were a trail user, not a waterway user, there's an application that you could go in and also click on it and say there's an issue on the trail system, and document where it is, what it is, and you would get that feedback much quicker.
Always issues on.
There's always issues, and we find that what happens with a lot of the complaints that we get is people are out on the trail and they don't have a way to document it right then and there while they're on their bike. They don't stop and snap that app. So then 2-3 days go by and they email us and they say, hey, there's a problem. And we ask, where is it? Well, it's somewhere between Utica and Rochester. This is what we're hoping, we're trying to figure out that network of how do we pinpoint where the issues are based on someone who has just, been on the trail, 20 miles of trail that they traveled, and they just remember that they ran into the issue, but to know exactly where it is problematic.
Great need for that, and great application. We're gonna have more time for questions and discussion when we get to the end. So let's sort of, I'm sorry, I kind of broke the rules there, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood what Shelby and Sasha were talking about. Excellent presentation. We're excited.
I have more.
Oh, there's no programming.
Do I have time?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right, so.
I thought you were done.
No, not
Okay,
yet,
go ahead.
not yet. In addition to general trail maintenance and upkeep, we also offer a variety of programs that support communities, volunteers, and recreation on the canal and also on the trail. So next slide. So we have had longstanding partnerships with the two organizations mentioned up on the monitor here, Parks and Trails New York and Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor. These have spanned over 2 decades, and they really do help us offer programming that we otherwise couldn't provide in-house. For Parks and Trails New York, their mission is focused on encouraging and promoting recreation and outdoor green spaces in New York State. And Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor's mission is to preserve the history of the corridor while ensuring a vibrant community for the canal and its communities and helping to run water trail programs. So Parks and Trails New York helps us do an adopt a trail program. That's where volunteers adopt a section of trail and help us maintain it. They also do annual trail counts. So the numbers, the figures I mentioned earlier, where I said 3.3 million visitors to the trail, PTNY helped us collect that using manual trail counts. So our adopt a trail volunteers are out there with little clickers. And then we also they have electronic counters that we move throughout the state annually. There's also a Trail Towns program that we're helping to provide an action plan to communities to help them be more bike friendly. And then I'll just kind of breeze through these and then go over to Erie Canal National Heritage Corridor. They similarly run an Adopt a Waterway program. So the Water Trail Stewardship Program, imagine it to be like Adopt a Trail, but for water and docks. And then a new program that's really, well, let me skip over that one. We also do the Canalway Challenge. If anyone's logged their miles, you can log your miles and earn prizes and recognition for biking 36 miles on the trail or being an end-to-ender riding from Albany to Buffalo. The other cool thing about the program is that there's no time constraint on it. So you can walk the same mile every day for 1 year and still be a 360 miler. So it's really nice, a really achievable program. There's also Ticket to Ride, which provides busing reimbursement to schools to get to historic places and education centers on the canal. But a new program mentioned at the second bullet is the Small Grants Program for Events and Festivals in Tourism and Amenity Infrastructure. So on the next slide, so the goal of these programs were, one, with events and festivals annually, we have requests come in from different communities or organizations saying we have a Walktoberfest or we have a conference that we're interested, can you fund? Before we do it very piecemeal, we would say yes throughout the year. Now we have a streamlined competitive process that people have to apply to. We funded 24 events and festivals this year with this funding. And then we also established a small infrastructure tourism improvement grants. And the idea here was we have the Canal grant program, the CFA program that we run, that's $1 million, but the minimum amount that someone can apply for is $25,000. Now we have a grant that starts at $2,000 and runs to $24,000. And you can use it to purchase porta potties, you can use it to install a water fountain, or to purchase mowing equipment. So these are small grants that help communities improve the trail segments. We saw people install a lot of boat launches, a lot of accessible kayak ramps. There was a small pocket park, interpretive signs were installed. So these are really meaningful grant programs, and Erie Canal is helping to administer that. The total funding pot was $230,000 this year. We're looking to increase that slightly, maybe to $250,000 this year, and we will announce at the beginning of next year this program. And if anyone's interested, just let me email me, and we can talk about it. Really exciting 2 grant opportunities that we have. And then next slide. And then the final, and Darby's going to talk about it, But On the Canals has really been a very successful program that's helping to market the trail and waterway. The trail has obviously been a major component of On the Canal and is really helping to demonstrate the economic and recreational potential of the network. So that's all. Now you.
Done. You all done?
We're done, we promise, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
of that was great. And those grants are extremely popular. $230,000 we programmed last year, maybe $250 next year. We received over $1 million in
Oh, yeah.
applications, so it's extremely popular. Certainly more
Lot of
than out there.
applications.
Fun, but we're looking forward to that. So On the Canals, if you have not had the opportunity to take advantage of one of our free On the Canal excursions, you are missing the boat, or you're missing the bike, or the kayak, or the brush. But it is a great program. Darby Gracie is here to talk about it, and Darby is our On the Canals program manager. More than 11,000 participants served this year. I'm sure she's going to repeat that, but it is a runaway success. And Darby, it's all about the energy and the leadership behind it. We know that you and Kim, hold the three hands. Kim Laura works with Darby to review and identify opportunities for existing and future OTC excursions. Darby Gracie, take it away, Darby.
Thank you, Director Stratton. So, hi, everybody. Pleasure to be here today. I just wanted to start with a little bit of background on the Canals program, just in case some of you aren't familiar with it. It started back in 2020, and we called it Staycations back then. It was started as a direct response to the pandemic that we were in the throes of at the time. Lots of uncertainty around that time, lots of restricted travel. So we talked about what could we do to give folks a way to safely recreate in their own backyard, and maybe introduce some folks to the canal who may not be aware of it. And hopefully support some small businesses as well. We're all going through a tough time. So we ended up partnering with 4 different providers. We had 6 different locations where we held excursions for a certain amount of time over a couple of months in the summer. The program was put together in just a few weeks. And those excursions consisted mostly of kayaking and cycling. And it turned out to be super popular. So after that was done, we decided to continue the program. We rebranded it as the On the Canals program. Next slide, please. Thanks. So in 2020, that first year of the program that I mentioned, we had 2,800 participants, mostly kayaking, cycling. For last year's program, we added fall and winter excursions as well. So we had just under 4,500 participants. We added some new activities like hydrobiking, birding, which were all very popular. For this year's program, we're just about at 12,000 participants, like Brian said. So, and that's end counting because we still have some going on. We have some winter ones coming as well. So for this year's program, we again added some more activities. We had an accessible excursion for the first time out of Rockport. This excursion was intended for families and groups of friends to participate all together regardless of ability. So we had standard equipment, adaptive equipment available as well for folks to do kayaking and cycling. We also added art, so had a passive recreation offering as well. So we had lots of painting sessions along the canal, also some glass blowing demonstrations by the Corning Museum of Glass. And then finally, just another example of a new activity, we added some infrastructure tours to target and to really highlight our great powerhouses that are out there. Next slide. So this is the same slide that Sasha showed. This is just all of the offerings for this year's program. The categories are down below by the color code there. So lots of kayaking, cycling like we've had the last 2 years as well. We were delighted to see the tour boats really come out this year and participate. We had birding, as I mentioned, art opportunities, so something for everyone, just like Brian said. And we had excursions on all 4 canals this year. Next slide. This one you just have to click. So these are some of the goals of the program. So in addition to those original goals that we established, last year we added some. So we wanted to use this program to further environmental and social responsibility objectives of the Canal Corporation. So the different areas that we focused on were participation by underrepresented communities. So this picture is just one of the tours that went on. This was the Rochester City School District during their summer program. A group of students participated on a tour on the canal. Click again. So we also offered some multi-generational programs. So sessions targeted just for kids, sessions targeted for seniors as well, and everything in between. Next. And then we have a focus area also on greater accessibility for folks of all abilities. So we had that excursion in Brockport. We also had on the canal's representation at many festivals throughout the state, as well as the New York State Fair, where adaptive equipment was there. Erie Canal Boat Company brought the equipment to these different festivals. People were able to see that equipment, adaptive cycling, adaptive bicycles, adaptive kayaks, and in some instances, they were able to try them out, be fitted to it and try them out. Next. And then our other goal under this umbrella is responsible conservation and environmental stewardship. So one of the sessions we did in support of this was STEAM workshops. So there's STEM workshops with an art component. So in this case, that last picture was that the kids in that class built a little water wheel that was helping them to understand hydropower and how that works. Next. So these are the same goals that I talked about from the beginning to support local businesses and expand awareness and utilization of the canal waterways and trail. So as far as the local business side goes, we partnered with 22 different providers this year, more than ever in the history of the program anyway. 14 of them were first time on the canal providers. And many of these folks experienced really significant business growth through this. So these excursions are offered for free to the public. We pay the providers to offer these services. And in some cases, they purchase equipment which they are reimbursed for to provide these excursions. Then they use that equipment and that little new business segment they've developed to offer that excursion as a paid excursion to the public. So it's a great way to grow their business. We also introduced this year the NYPA Small Business Program, which I'll talk about in the next slide. As far as expanding awareness and utilization, as I mentioned, excursions were held on all 4 canals. We had many first-time visitors. We hear that all the time from all of the providers, as well as international visitors. And not only do the providers get a lot of promotion and visibility through this program, but the canal does too. There were lots of ads, which you'll see a sample of shortly. Next slide. So this is just some information on the NYPA Small Business Program, which we're delighted to have available for the On the Canals providers. So it's led by the NYPA Strategic Supply Management Group under the direction of John Canale at NYPA. It's a 7.5 month education program that's free for any provider who's interested in participating. So far, there are 9 On the Canals providers who are doing it. It's a pretty extensive program, a big time commitment, but many of them are super excited. I have a quote down below. One of the providers said, "This is going to be a total game changer for me." So there are lots of things people can learn as part of this program: project management, best practices, executive coaching. They can get assistance with certifications. Also how to just know about opportunities with other state agencies as well that they may want to participate in. So this program just started earlier this month. It's a rolling admission sort of a thing. So anyone who's interested can participate. Next. So this is just some of the coverage that we received for the excursions this year. On the left is all of that different coverage all across the state. In the middle is a sample ad that was run on social media. There's a pretty hefty social media campaign as part of this program. And then we also were in the New York by Rail magazine, Amtrak's magazine. Next. So looking ahead, we're in the process right now of planning for winter excursions. So the providers that we've partnered with this year, some of them are interested in offering winter winter excursions, which we're working through the details of right now. There will be most likely a couple of first day hikes, which is a new thing for us to participate in as far as this program goes. We're also very soon going to be issuing the formal solicitation we do that we use to really develop the programming for this program. So this is it's a formal procurement process. It's kind of tough and it's kind of arduous, but it makes it fair for everyone who is interested. Any provider who's interested in participating has the opportunity to do so. So we'll be issuing that pretty soon. The goals of the program that I've talked about throughout this presentation are really staying the same. So continuing to expand the awareness and utilization of the canal waterways and trail, increasing visitation through that to different communities, supporting small businesses, and of course, advancing our environmental and social responsibility objectives. Any questions?
That was fantastic, Darby. Thank you so much. What a wonderful program. I've had the opportunity to do many of them, including 2 of the winter excursions, the Montezuma hike, the snowshoeing in Oswego. I did a couple of fall rides, and if you're a biker like me, you want to know that there are 2 fall rides on the canals excursions out of Schuylerville along the Champlain Canal, led by John Cesare of Adirondack Ultra Cycling. Halloween Eve, Sunday, September 30th, and November 13th. So I have another commitment for October 30th, but I'm going to do the November 13th run. So I'm looking forward to that. Okay. Well, we are in crunch time because we've got about 20 minutes left, and we're only halfway through. We could not be prouder that for the first time, one of our Canal team members is among the final 4 selected winners of the 2022 Eureka Innovation Challenge. And here to explain that and talk more about the winner and her presentation, her idea, is Rebecca Hughes again.
Thank you, Brian. The Eureka competition is an employee-generated ideas competition that the New York Power Authority has now run twice. It ran just before the pandemic and was brought back this year. Hundreds of employees submit ideas about ways to innovate how we do business, technologies across the energy sector and across the canal, and innovative ideas on how we can better engage with communities or expand offerings. And it was an absolute pleasure to serve as the executive sponsor for Marissa Paczurczyk, our colleague at the Canal Corporation, who threw her hat in the ring and presented an idea. She was competing with a lot of really sophisticated engineering or MBA types of solutions. Ultimately, the 4 winners were selected through a crowdsourced voting mechanism. Over 800 employees voted, and Marissa's idea competed with all of those and was among the 4 winners that were selected. It's a really exciting idea, and we're going to show you her pitch video. Yes, we can go ahead and do that.
Hello, my name is Marissa Paczurczyk, and I work with the Canal Corporation. One of the ongoing struggles with upstate New York is finding new ways to connect with out-of-state audiences and encourage them to visit our neck of the woods. My solution would be to partner with Adventures by Disney to offer exclusive family cruises along our canals. Adventures by Disney is a division of the Walt Disney Company that offers destination vacation packages all around the world. The division was founded in 2005 and has been offering unique family excursions across 6 continents for almost 20 years. They reach out to local vendors to book everything from accommodations to dining to group activities, and every tour group is led by 2 Disney adventure guides to ensure everyone has a magical time. The Disney name conveys quality storytelling and one-of-a-kind experiences to audiences all around the world. By partnering with Adventures by Disney, NYPA and the Canal Corporation would be able to reach a wider audience and invite visitors from across the globe to explore New York's beautiful canal system. Families who enjoy an Adventure by Disney vacation to upstate New York will want to encourage their friends to explore Herkimer's diamond mines, get an up-close demonstration of how our canal locks work, or kayak along the Oswego Canal. From 4-day cruises along the Champlain Canal to 5- or 7-day cruises along the Erie Canal, the possibilities for adventure are endless.
Of course, we're incredibly proud of Marissa for, getting out of her comfort zone, throwing a novel idea out there that just got a ton of excitement and support. She traveled from Albany to White Plains and presented her idea to the Board of Trustees and fielded their questions. And it was wonderful. So in support of Marissa's idea, we will issue a request for interest to potential tour companies like Adventures by Disney who seek to partner with local operators and bring that brand recognition and a formulaic approach to tourism. So I know this is something that's not necessarily a new idea for the canal, but we think that exploring this in the market now is a great time to revisit and see what interest we might generate, especially given all of the interest in the canal system, from its recreational users. So we're excited to see where this goes, and we're proud of Marissa.
Thank you, Rebecca. We're going to let you go right into your presentation and update on the Earthen Embankment Integrity Program.
Thank you. Next slide. So this feels like a little buzzkill all of a sudden after all these riding high on all these other topics. But I am actually very excited to provide you a quick update on the Earthen Embankment Integrity Program that you've been hearing about for well over a year now. It's not yet finalized, but it's very, very close. We're very close to finishing the state environmental quality review process for the program. As you may recall, the Earthen Embankment Integrity Program is about maintaining and repairing the earthen embankment segments of the canal. So those are those big earthen segments that carry the canal over valleys and help to traverse elevations. As overall, they're in poor condition and require maintenance. But I think after this year-long process of receiving over 1,000 public comments, holding over 16 hours of public information sessions on this topic, we've really refined the program in ways that I'm excited to share with you. So I've not used this image in presentations previously, but I'm embracing this because this is a jarring image for communities to see. Vegetation removal has been a very controversial element of the program, especially in the Finger Lakes region throughout Rochester, Fairport, Pittsford, Barrington. And I just want to acknowledge that some of our prior work attempting to maintain embankments and clear vegetation was really done initially without proper public engagement. And our work that we attempted to begin in 2018 really did fail to address community concerns. So what we've learned through this public engagement process is that communities have to play an active role in weighing in on design options for how the maintenance projects will be implemented, and that their values need to be considered, including community character, the shade value of trees for recreation, the value of habitat, not just for rare and endangered species, but more broadly, and that the ecology of the area needs to be considered in the various design alternatives. So I'm just going to share some of the community engagement elements of the program that's forthcoming. We've talked previously, this is, within the program when it went out for public review, these different thresholds. I've added some specificity here to specify which are regulatory versus which are community thresholds. I know there's a lot to digest here, and the slides will be available to you. But basically, when an earthen embankment segment is put forward for rehabilitation, one of the first things we do is a desktop audit to see if any regulatory or community thresholds are exceeded. So you can think about regulatory thresholds as things like rare, threatened, endangered plant or animal species, wetlands, historic sites, and we also consider community thresholds. So is this area part of a residential neighborhood? Is it adjacent to a park? Is it part of a comprehensive plan or a local waterfront development program area? And all of those things mean that we have to take a different approach to embankment maintenance. If it's regulatory, there are legal and regulatory processes that we follow in order to mitigate those impacts. And if we're exceeding community thresholds, the revised program does a much better job, I think, of addressing those. Next slide, please. So I'm just going to spend a couple minutes talking about when those community thresholds are exceeded. So when a project is identified that hits one of those thresholds, park, LWRP, comprehensive plan, we bring in an arborist and a landscape architect to work on the design alternatives for that project. So this is something we heard loud and clear from the public, that engineering and dam safety are, of course, critical, but they also want this perspective from experts who look at the health of trees, so arborists who look at the health of the local ecology, and landscape architects who consider the aesthetics of the design. So those professionals, independent of NIPA and canals, will be brought in on projects where the community thresholds are exceeded. In addition to the engineering design, the project as it's designed in accordance with the program, we will also present a minimum of 2 alternative designs as well. Next slide, please. So the prescriptive approach, good maintenance practices as defined by FEMA, the Army Corps, the Association of Dam Safety Engineers, tells us that embankments should be cleared of vegetation with root systems that can lead to piping or seeps that can be early signs of failure. So the standard approach to an embankment maintenance project would be to remove that vegetation and replace it with turf grass that can prevent surface erosion. It enables us to perform inspections and to identify deficiencies like animal burrows, seepage, cracking, sinkholes. And the program also allows for compatible vegetation to be planted at the crest of the embankment at the top where you might see the trail. So this is just a couple examples of what the standard recommendation might look like: a cleared embankment with native plantings at the crest. We're also looking and piloting actually pollinator meadows. We've planted several already in Western New York, and pollinator plantings will also be part of the set of options for maintained embankments as well. Next slide, please. So here's an example of what that might look like for a community. So this is Reese Canal Park. The embankment you can see in the background is an earthen segment of canal where the water is retained above the surrounding area. Because this is a park, it would exceed a community threshold. So one proposal that we would present to Reese would be a maintained embankment where all of that vegetation on the outboard slope, the outside, is removed and replaced with turf grass. Next slide, please.
That didn't actually happen.
That was a rendering, correct? Yep. And that is an area of embankment that's high hazard and in relatively poor condition, though, so it's a realistic example. Now, in addition to that standard design, we would present Greece with a minimum of 2 additional options. So the first of those alternatives is where we would leave all healthy, mature trees in zones 2B and 3 on the embankment. So that's essentially at the crest at the top on the outboard side, and in that top third of the outboard side of the embankment. So we would have the arborist and landscape architect consult with us. We would tag all of the healthy, mature trees, and those would all be left in zones 2B and 3. Based on, without going too deep into the phreatic surface, this is a solution that our dam safety engineers, they're not in love with it. It's not to the letter, to the best practice, but based on their evaluations, and this of course will be looked at site by site, this is an area of significant compromise, leaving trees in those top sections. And the picture on the bottom is from just last week, a walk that Joelle and I took at Lock 33 in Brighton. And this is an example of what an alternative one might look like, where you see those healthy, mature trees retained at the top. In this case, you've got really beautiful landscaping as well, and that could be combined with this type of solution. Next slide. Alternative 2 is what we call internally kind of the off-ramp. So in design alternative 2, we've presented the community with the engineering design, where we've got some compatible vegetation at the crest. We've presented them with the alternative where we've got healthy, mature trees in those zones. And the community perhaps rejects both of those. They assert that this still does not mitigate the effects that are had on the community's character and the aesthetic appearance. And in this case, we have the option to leave all of the healthy, mature trees on the outboard slope, with the exception of those that would have to be removed so we can place filter blankets or other mitigative solutions to stop or slow seeps. This is in direct response to what we've heard from communities, and it will be an option that's presented as a design alternative in consultation with the arborist and landscape architect. So I think this is a very significant change to the program. When we leave the mature trees on the outboard slope, we're still clearing undergrowth and bramble. So we're still enabling better inspections. We're still doing right in our stewardship of the canal system, but we go into a cycle of 5-year monitoring. So we don't consider this embankment fully rehabilitated, but we are able to perform inspections and we go into a much more intensive monitoring cycle. Next slide. So I just want to close with this reminder that when you're on the canal, you're not always on an earthen embankment. So there's a perception that when I look out over the beauty of the canal, that every tree would be removed. The reality is that roughly about 12% of the linear miles of the canal system are comprised of earthen embankments. So in this image, I believe this is Holly. On the left, you can see that the canal is right on par with the surrounding area. It's not elevated above. You can see that there's riprap on the inboard slope, so there's no vegetation sprouting out there. There's rocks that prevent erosion from wave action. On the opposite side, you can see that slope where the water is being impounded high above the surrounding community. You can see the towpath at the crest of that embankment. You can see that this embankment crest, the top is pretty wide. There are others that are very narrow, so that's varied across the system. And then that outside edge, that's called the outboard slope of the embankment. So I think it's really helpful to know when you're on an embankment. We do have a public facing website with a map where you can put in your town, your village, your address, a specific destination, and see where the embankments are on the system. You can add layers to look at topography or satellite images to see what's around. So I would encourage anyone who's concerned about the program to educate themselves. It's nyskanalintegrity.org, and we can share that link after the meeting. But it's not the entire canal system, and we are prioritizing embankments that are high hazard. So if they were to fail, it would cause significant damage and in poor condition. So we've got significant seepage, sinkholes, cracking, that would help us to prioritize maintenance. So there will be sections out of that 12% that are never touched. If they're low hazard, in fair condition, we're likely to continue to prioritize those that are higher hazard and in poorer condition. So the seeker process is wrapping up. We're in final reviews of the Red Line Earthen Embankment Program Guidebook. When we issue that publicly, we'll issue a red line version too, so people don't have to scour or do document compares to find the changes. This is part of taking a more transparent approach to the program. And we really look forward to public feedback as this goes live, hopefully in coming weeks. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Brian to wrap up, and then we can field questions on any of the topics that we're covering.
Rebecca, thank you. This is a very important program, and you're doing a tremendous job. Rebecca taking it on and staying on top of it, not easy. Sure, Joelle will get her turn to engage in that, because this is going to be something that goes on for at least the immediate foreseeable future. So thank you for that. We're going to move on again. We're just coming to the end. We're going to go a few minutes over, but I hope everyone will be patient. You know, we just wrapped up or are wrapping up our season. Lots of great progress, lots to look forward to in our winter work that is ahead. And of course, the favorite time of the year, everyone's favorite time of the year, is pump outs. So we're going to hear about our winter work and all the maintenance. And once again here, with us Dave Mellon, Canal Regional Manager, and the Director of Waterways Maintenance, Evan Burrows. Dave, go ahead. Good morning.
Thank you. So it really was a great year. Many of us have been here for a long time. Can't remember another year where we didn't have a single closure related to weather. We all know we had a great summer. So next slide, please. I wanted to show everyone, this was the traffic data as of the last day of the season. As Brian said earlier, overall, we were up 14.1% for almost 89,000 lockings. Erie was up 8.1. That's where the majority of the traffic was, almost 62,000. Champlain up 16.7% for a little over 10,000. Oswego was up substantially, 71.7%, over 11,000. I looked at those numbers a little closer, and we had some closures last year, which contributed to that. But we also expanded hours a little bit on the Oswego this year, and the increase was a mix of powered vessels, but also non-powered vessels. I think some of that was beyond the Canals program that we had up there. On the Canadian Seneca was up slightly 1.6%, just over 5,000 vessels. So this was, of course, like I said, a couple weeks ago or last week. I think by the time the end of October rolls around, I think, we'll add on to that number. Next slide, please. So I also wanted to take a look at, where have we been the last 5 years? The top line is the overall traffic. And as you can see, 17, 18, 19, we were pretty steady, just under 100,000 lockings for the whole system. Of course, we know 2020, we had the COVID year, shortened season. Last year we spiked up, and then again this year we had that increase. Again, I think, after we add in these couple weeks at the end of the season, I think we're going to be right up to those pre-pandemic levels, which is, a great sign. So, as we head towards this time of season, we're spending a lot of time pulling buoys, closing the system out, but also getting ready for our maintenance pump out season. Some of these locations are the second year of a 2-year pump out. So Lock 08 is the case, as well as Lock 32, 34, and E10. For anyone who was at the conference, we showed a little presentation on some of our challenges at some of our pump outs, and E10 was the lock we highlighted. So we'll be back there again this year as well. Lock 30, that's going to be a full-blown pump out, hopefully 1 year. A lot of work to do there. C6 will be there on the Champlain. Lock E4 and E5, we're going to tackle the upper gates on both those locks. And E17 down in the Mohawk Valley will be there as well for a full pump out. So we're looking forward to a good off season and a lot of work to do, and be ready for the 2023 season.
So if you haven't had a chance to be on site and the tour during one of our pump outs, you need to do that because you're not really a canal freak. Exactly. They are fabulous experiences. Just dress warmly and be bold and be safe.
Yeah, we're happy to arrange tours.
No, that's it. Thank you, Dave.
Also, you're all set? Okay. Don't talk to them. Thank you very much, Ambrose. That's wonderful. So we're gonna get ready, and we will promote and advise on our canal pump outs. And we did a great tour last year with many elected officials and local officials, and I'm sure we've made you. Ross, I think I love New York would like to sponsor our pump out probably. It's a great tourism opportunity.
Disney.
Who needs Disney? You got Ross. All right, we're going to move on to the items of new business, and I would like to ask members of any new business to be before the commission. Ross Levi, yes.
Actually, I'm not sure it's new business. It's actually an old happenings from Island, New York, but I thought we should like to know some of the activities that and the Commissioner of Tourism has been doing to promote the canals over the last number of months. utilize our channels pretty vigorously to promote canal activities, including a lot of what you've heard here today. There's such great programs. It's really a win-win for I Love New York in promoting these programs because that obviously brings attention to the canal and uses the canal, which is why it's there. But for us, increases visitation. It's a way that we can talk with not only audiences in New York State, but throughout the United States and indeed internationally. And use our canal as an amazing asset it is to bring visitors to New York State. So, for example, on our digital channels, on the I Love New York blog, we did a special article on the Canals program, which is posted on our I Love New York website. The team from Canals and NIPA were extremely helpful in us writing that, getting us content and photos, so thank you for that. On our I Love New York social media, we promoted the Erie Canal Challenge and the Empire State Trail during National Bike Month in May. These are just highlights. We're talking about the canals pretty regularly. For our public relations efforts, we invited canals. In fact, you did come and participate in our I Love New York Media Night, where we host travel journalists based in New York City seasonally to hear about what's up for the upcoming season. This past June, that was held at the American Museum of Natural History, and we showed the canals there to highlight their summer programming as well. As a result of a number of desk side meetings that I did in conjunction with our public relations firm and partners, we met with a lot of different travel editors across New York State, New York City, and as a result of that time out in New York, wrote a story titled "You Could Write a Boat Around New York State on the Canal System." So that ran time out in New York, and ARP, ARP, the American Association of Retired Persons, they just did a great article on e-biking through the Finger Lakes in the fall, which features the Erie Canal Trail in Rochester. Our experiential team was out at events all across the Northeast, 12 different events this summer, 9 in-state, 3 out-of-state, with a culmination of the New York State Fair. And canal assets featured prominently as they were out there in the world talking about great things to experience in New York State. There was mentions of the canal, the Erie Canal Museum, Erie Canal Cruises, and the Discovery Center. And he also collected email information there, over 10,000 unique leads from over 40 different zip codes. So we'll be able to stay in touch with those folks and that what's going on. We heard a lot about accessible tourism. We have an accessible New York tourism program that I Love New York, and we were able to highlight the canals within that. For example, we featured the First Mile Canalway Challenge on our Accessible New York website, and we featured Rochester Accessible Adventures as an accessible destination location for those with mobility needs, adaptive kayak way that they can enjoy the canal. And then quick look forward, 2 quick things on the horizon. I Love New York was thrilled to add to our social media platforms. We've already been on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We just joined TikTok. And we would love to feature the canal as part of that. So we're looking to capture canal's content and promote that on that platform in the future. And also next week, I will be in New York City for the New York International Travel Show. I Love New York is hosting a press conference there, and we'll be talking about the Empire State Trail and the Erie Canal there as well. So more to come, but really appreciate the partnership and we'll continue to spread the word as word.
And you will also be in New York for the New York State Tourism Industry Association Fall Conference, NICEA, on which we serve on the board in an ex officio capacity. I won't be there, but Bill Schweitzer, Nick Nelson, and Connie Cullen will be there. Ross, we appreciate greatly all that you and your wonderful team at I Love New York did for us. Thank you so much for your great commitment and your true partnership, and keep it coming. Thank you. Wonderful.
Thank you for the help.
Are there other items of new business from the commissioners? There's a question on chat. I don't know if it constitutes new business. Kim, how do we see the question on the chat?
Michael.
These are just comments.
Mike, if you wouldn't mind stopping the screen share, we can see if anyone
All right.
wants
Commissioner DeRoller, did you have your hand up? Did you want to say anything?
I did, but check with your.
I think we're good on chat. There's no chat, so I wanna recognize you first.
All right, well, first, the director came to Medina, trying to enhance the view of Medina. We had the Corning Glass Hot Shop there. We had a 3-day event with coordination with the YMCA. The mayor of the village was there, the director was there, and other business owners that owns the Opera.
Vets Opera House.
Opera House, yep, that's Opera House, which is a high-end restaurant, some high-end location for stays. Had 1,500 people, my executive director there for tourism. And we had a lot of learnings from that, where a lot of grandparents brought their kids and they want to know what else is available from out of the area. So we've got some learnings and takeaways to enhance the view of the canal and other opportunities from the tourism perspective. So I was pleased with that. The last item I wanted to cover, I came along with Rebecca as far as we have now in Orange County a local waterfront revitalization intercoastal plan. It just came into play. And public participation is really key. And then I was going to lead that into the grant opportunity because I want to bring back about a mile of the 1825 original canal in Holly. There's a Holly Falls. And that dredged out about a mile back to the 4-foot depth. And it's really going to be a tourism destination. So if I can, I've got a drainage plan, I'm going to need a little funding to put that in. So we're going to enhance some of these opportunities.
Let's set up a call for that.
Okay.
Does that sound
good? Yeah.
Let's set up a call for that. Anything that you could do to recreate part of the original Flint and Sticks. That
Yes,
really
original. I went around the village of Holly and I've got about a mile captured. And we spent probably 3 months with a $400,000 machine to excavate it.
Good.
Got a drainage plan. Now I need some help to get it done.
Let's set up a call on that.
Okay. Thank you.
And Dave and everybody has some call on that. And certainly Joel too. Thank goodness Joel's here. It's a long drive for us. It's a little closer for you, so you drive the short straw. No, that's always anytime. And Medina is great. The Corning Glass Mobile Hot Shop was a special offering of the On the Canals tour, right, Darby? And we did a fabulous partnership with Corning Glass in 2017 or 2016 when we recreated their journey from Brooklyn all the way to Corning by way of the Erie Canal. And so that was a test, and we're going to bring some more great things to Medina coming up, which I think Darby spoke about. So thank you, Commissioner. Other commissioners in the room have got comments quickly. Commissioner Wiles.
About trails. There's a substantial section of trail roughly between Fort Byron and Clyde that uses the roads. My heritage site is on that road, which is great for us, except everyone goes, where's the trail? And you have to explain it, that's fine. So 2 things. One is, even long range, way out there, is there at least thought to how to someday getting that off the road and on a trail? And I have to be careful what I wish for, because if it leaves the road and isn't going right next to us, do I lose all the cyclists? So maybe I should just stop.
Well, the intent of the Empire State Trail Initiative was to bring as much trail off road and onto Beach Trail. Because of the aggressive time frame of that initiative and also money limitations, we had to go on state right of ways, and the areas had to stay on road. There is no more huge initiative funding to bring these sections off road. And so
how about huge thinking?
Yeah, I don't know if Molly Riley is still on the call. I don't want to.
Molly Riley, are you still with us?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
I am still with you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear
Did
you.
you hear the
Go ahead.
question?
Wonderful. Yes. I mean, and just let me restate it and please correct my understanding. The question was whether or not there was an opportunity to consider an off-road trail path, specifically in the location of Port Byron. At this time, is that correct?
Yeah, roughly.
At this time, there are always opportunities to find and the desire to find off-road sections for the trail to the extent to which it creates comfort and safety and a wonderful experience for users of the trail. But at the moment, we don't have a reorientation plan. Sasha was absolutely correct to identify that our resources are limited. However, when resources do become available, a priority will be to realign the trail to as many off-road locations as possible. But as of yet, nothing's in the hopper to change the map.
Okay. That's
Thank
fine.
you, Molly. Thank you very much. Dan, is that it?
Well, Dan,
I
it
have
sounds
more.
like there might be a signage need there too, so that's something we can talk about. So if you're on road and that's, you know, the foreseeable future,
I
it
can't
sounds like
believe
there
it.
might be some improvement that it could do with communication as well. And Sasha and Shelby are also leading initiatives to improve signage and wayfinding.
If you've got cyclists coming right by your door currently, wouldn't that be a good thing you would want to change?
That's what I was thinking.
Okay.
It's a double-edged sword, but
Okay.
I get.
Yes, what else?
I just want to throw out that all Canal stakeholders need to be thinking bicentennial and what they want to see or what they want to do. Just, I'm not going to get into details. Also, and just from my point of view, all summer and for the last 2 years, I think, that the social media presence of the canal has been outstanding. And it's been consistent, it's positive, it's upbeat, it's colorful, it's engaging, it's all those things.
Inclusive.
Yeah, very impressed, almost to the point now where there's so many non-Canal Corp presence also that people get confused as to, well, who put this one out? Who put that one out? But that's probably a good problem.
Well, you see many of us, and you are absolutely right. Thank you. We want to acknowledge our wonderful communications team and the great support that we received from NIPA to be able to make that happen. And Lisa Outerkirk is our social media manager. She does an outstanding job along with all of our partners with Rebecca, Jackie, Shane, Bill, everyone. And you see many of us personally do our own Facebook and we repost to other channels. So you're right, it's great. And it is getting out there. With regard to the bicentennial, we do have a lot of plans underway. We do have the first organizational meeting of those who are the co-sponsors of the 2025 Rural Canals Conference coming forward for Buffalo, and that meeting is scheduled to take place in just about a week or two. I would endeavor to guess that you're going to hear a lot more after we get by November 8th. So I think that's probably a good benchmark. But you're absolutely right. That's never far from our minds at all. Don't you want to give your other commissioners a chance to?
I promise, well, that's all I have. It's an attaboy to Cal, who put the conferences together. She makes it look so easy. You say, well, she'll just do it forever. I don't know how. I know.
And
I'm just,
and she puts up with a lot too, because I was calling her every other hour.
And I don't know how you do it. I don't. You're not, this is what you're not pawning this one off. No.
Thank you, Commissioner Stetson. Welcome to the table.
Why, thank you. I just wanted to say thank you to Rebecca and to Director Stratton for the idea of inviting the commission to visit the Erie Canal Museum prior to this meeting. I apologize greatly that I had to cancel. I'm glad I did. It was chaos to try to have you guys in there this morning. Would not have worked well. So I look forward to finding another time to bring you guys in and others to talk about the work that we're doing at the museum, to really kind of work to reframe the story of the canal fund to include more stories, more voices,
Yes.
to broaden that picture.
We really want to come back.
We will have that.
We really do. And you
That
had
German
many people that
classic
said,
story could have been our way.
the wind went out of the balloon. The wind went out of the
We'll be
sail.
ready though.
Yeah, I got the call. I said, yes. Like I don't know if Kim remembers when she called me. I was like, we can make it work. I'll make it work. Yes. And then like a week later, I was like, it's not going to work. So,
Well, it is always wonderful to come to the Erie Canal Museum, and we look forward to coming back. We know we're entering into a new project opportunity with you, which everybody's going to be hearing very soon.
will.
It's very exciting
Yes.
and always good to hear. So let me not, commissioners at the table, Commissioner Vittori is that. No, Mr. Wiles is already well extinguished his opportunities. Commissioner Iacchetta, you see you're on the screen. Do you have voice communication?
Yes, I think I do. I'm back at my airport desk. Thank you, Director. Thanks for your understanding on my medical requirements today. Sorry I couldn't join you there all. Thank you for your excellent leadership. My only thought to continue our opportunities and challenges is our great Empire Trail hosts a number of 26.2 mile marathons, and we had over 2,000 participants in the Mohawk Hudson Marathon just last Sunday, running across our lawn. And it'd be nice to get our social media and get everybody synced up to take credit for the great use of our Empire Trail system. That's just one thought. There are, I believe there are multiple marathons throughout the state. When they occur, they're great community events. I've been to other marathons, other places, and the whole community comes out with bands and everything. It's a great community celebration. And it's another opportunity for us to tie the state system in and help applaud our great efforts to date in bridging the gaps in the trail and the great use of the Canal Side Trail system. So that's my only thought for today, going forward, onward and upward. Thank you, Director.
We know where your house is. It's right on the Empire State Trail. It's a beautiful spot, and I happened to be cycling along the trail the day before the Mohawk Hudson Marathon underway. Thank you to you and your wife for opening up your restroom to all those runners. I'm sure they appreciated it. So thank you, Commissioner Wiles. Anyone else on screen would like to ask a question or make a comment before we wrap up this overrun meeting?
Brian, can I just make a couple observations since I've never attended one of these before? I just have a couple of observations. Number one, when you guys always put up the maps of the canal corridor or recreation, whatever, Oneida Lake and Oswego River are often not even part of the discussion, not even part of the inclusion, I guess, which is interesting to me, seeing as that's where I am and I've always been here. And I know in fact how much boating goes on in this area. And I find that interesting. I don't know if it's just because because this section is not part of the original system and that's why, but I don't ever see it on the maps. That's one thing.
If I may, Kim, I think the map shows where the trail goes and shows where the navigation channel goes. And I think, of course, I've been in this job a long time, so I know that the navigation channel goes across Oneida Lake and it comes by your place. So, and the trail goes along the route of the old canal. So.
Okay, well, the only maps that I saw today all, were basically straight across the state. So I wasn't sure. And I do know that like maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I called up the Erie Canal Heritage Association because the pamphlet that they put together never listed Brewerton on it. And I called up and I said, is there a reason why? Because I mean, Brewerton's a pretty vibrant town on the canal system. So they did add that. But I think it's interesting that for so many years, it was never looked at, never acknowledged. The other thing that I was gonna say, and the people on the canal system are aware of this, is there's a couple of things that we talked about this summer regarding boating, and I see that boating is up in great droves, which is partly due to the segment of users which utilize the canal system basically as a highway to get from the East Coast to the Great Lakes, which is a very big population of users that I don't feel often is considered in some things. But, and clearly the numbers represent that. And I think there needs to be a bigger acknowledgement of boating usage beyond the New York State boaters, which leads to, you know, what I've advocated for quite a while is length of season, you know, maybe adding on 2 weeks in the spring and 2 weeks in the fall, but that's regardless. And the other thing I was going to say, Rebecca, in regards to the embankment issues, I do know that on that Mohawk section in the boater resource guide, I think it shows that boats can go 30 miles per hour. It shouldn't be miles per hour, but which on a very large vessel throws quite a bit of wake, which is not good for the grass embankments and will cause I mean, I know that, you know, years ago there was a embankment that blew out because of the erosion. So I think that that nomenclature should be changed down there. I think that boaters should be aware of the wake that they throw in any area of the canal system, be it on the east side, the west side, you know, going to Oswego, because I don't think that when you put it in miles per hour, it's not a boating term basically, and it should be a wake orientated thing. And I think that, you know, that's an important thing that you should be looking at. And then the last thing I was going to say was on that embankment thing, if you make the water too shallow, you're going to only increase weed growth in those areas. So you have to keep that in mind when you're talking about it.
Thank you very much, Kim. We know how important cross-state and through traffic and the great loop traffic is. So we know how important that is to you, and we know how much we rely upon your services for those boaters. So, and these are questions and comments that we had when we spent that lovely afternoon at your marina. We look forward to coming back and talking about that more.
Well, no problem on that. But I mean, they do support not just my backyard, but you know what I mean, the entire system. It's just that I advocate for it because they don't have a voice.
I don't think there's any elevated embankment section where we post 30 miles an hour. So that would be insane. But I want to tell you that wake zones and no wake zones and speeding motorcraft are one of the most frequent observations that we get along the canal and the riverine sections currently. So that's a huge issue. And of course, we do have a marine patrol grant, and we encourage our counties to apply and to fund that and put waterborne law enforcement and speed enforcement vessels out on the road. We're way over time, so I do appreciate you bringing those up. We're gonna wind things down, and if I'm not missing anybody else, we've gone from general public, we've gone to commissioners, and we're going to talk about the date and time for our next in-person meeting in the first quarter of January. I believe Kim has already put a tentative hold on February 3rd and April 6th for our new meetings. Those are subject to change. And as always, we're going to make our outreach to you to see which meeting works best. We're going to try to do those in person to the greatest extent possible. But of course, those are challenging months, but we do have a lot of traffic. Certainly Sasha likes to drive out to Buffalo during February and January.
Brian always makes me drive during snowstorms.
So we will get back to you on those. As always, I want to thank Kim for her outstanding work and helping us to work. Mike Tambasco, thank you very much for making all of this technology work and keeping us on course. And I also want to thank all of our presenters, Cal, Trustee Gonzalez, Rebecca, Sasha, Shelby, and everyone, Ambrose and Dave, and all of you for being there. Darby, Shelby. Okay. Sorry, it's not in the script. I would say it. Sorry. No, thank you so much for everyone. Okay, we're way over. Shane, Jackie, thank you very much. You know, you have other things going on. Everybody say hello to Jackie and Shane. And
do you want to invite people tomorrow?
Well, I asked Rebecca. She said, "Don't
Well, if it's good as Shane, it's good as me.
All right, tomorrow we are going to announce the beginning of the restoration of Guy Park Manor along the Erie Canal in Amsterdam. And Guy Park Manor is a late 1700s structure that preceded the beginning, the opening of the Erie Canal. It was heavily damaged during Hurricane Irene and Tropical Storm Lee in 2011. And we are going to reopen and reconfigure that beautiful historic structure in partnership with
Preserve,
Preserve.
rehabilitate, reactivate. So
I
that's
haven't
our.
gotten to tomorrow's.
Jen for the cops.
So please, that'll be at 10:30 tomorrow at Guy Park Manor in Amsterdam. If you would like to join us for that, and we are going to be joined by Congressman Tonko, Congressman Paul Tonko, who used to have his district office in Guy Park Manor.
Right.
At one time, it was envisioned that the Canal Corporation offices were going
It should
to.
be.
Yeah,
I still think it's a good idea.
but it's a great spot, and we are going to have a wonderful partnership also with the Erie Museum. So Natalie, we are wonderful to extend our wonderful partnership with the Erie. Are you going to be with us tomorrow?
I won't be with you tomorrow.
Darn. Well, Shane can come out and pick you up. You have car problems. So that's great. What else did the night say, Shane?
No, you're good. That just to tease. So if you're in the capital region tomorrow and can join us, 10:30 in Amsterdam at Guy Park Manor, Block 11.
We would love to have you.
I will just add also that it's a Reimagine the Canals project that's helping to move this long latent project along, and you'll also get a glimpse of the future of the site, which is in the spirit of, as Angelin described it, Reimagine's pivot. The function of the manor house as well as the grounds is very oriented around that community's needs, and we've got great support from the local community. So we look forward to sharing more detail with you on that as well.
And just
in the landscape architecture, you're going to want to know that we're actually going to raise up the building. So this is part of the flood plan, is to raise the building up, and it's really going to be cool. Very cool. Wrap it up. Okay.
Don't give away the whole thing.
You're the one who's talking about it, Shane. So, all right.
A couple of nuggets, but don't give the whole thing.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. By Sukowski, seconded by Property. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. See you in February.
Thank you.